Hi, this is Rachel Nolan, and I'm going to walk you through my ePortfolio, going over some highlights and some reflections as we go. So this is my second ePortfolio because the standards changed on me halfway through. So that was definitely a learning experience, having to switch everything over and adjust to the new standards. Luckily, I had only done a couple things on the old ePortfolio and was able to switch things over. So first, my goals. This is a video of me from a year and a half ago talking about my goals. You can watch that on your own because I'm not going to play a video within a video. The leadership philosophy I think is pretty important to touch on as a highlight because this kind of tells you what kind of leader I'll be. So my 4 things that I think add into my leadership philosophy is passion. Passionate about education. I can talk about it for a really long time. Passionate about teaching and leading. Second part is relationships. I think that's obviously the best part of working in a school is all the relationships you can build with your coworkers and with students. And doing this at homeschooling right now is really hard for that reason specifically, that relationships are built on being in the same room often. And so that's definitely something that I'm struggling with doing the at-home schooling right now. Collaboration, I think, is really important for leaders and teachers to all work together. I think no teacher should be an island, and unfortunately a lot of them are. And so getting feedback from stakeholders, teachers, students, parents, I think is really important as a leader. And then finally, vision. I know what I would do in a school. And I know that I could work hard to make my vision a reality. In the leadership styles I learned about, I think I'm more of a transformational leader, and so I touch on that here. Setting the vision and then motivating by words and example, and then having strong relationships to back that up. My plan of study is here, and obviously I'm in my last semester, so the only thing I have left right now is the curriculum planning and evaluation class that I'm in right now. And then finally, my resume is here. I've been teaching for 8 years, 6 in middle school and the last 2 in high school. And I've taught in California and Colorado, and I'm a science teacher. So that's here. And then all of my adjunct duties that I have done, there's a lot. So you can browse that if you want. Activity form, obviously you can see that. I calculated it comes out to 151 hours. I was about 6 short when we went on this quarantine. So I was able to use a case study that I did in a class, which took a couple hours. And then I spent an hour going over my school's mission and vision statement to get to that. I think if I had been still at school, I probably would have gotten more than 150 hours. But we live in 2020 and there's a pandemic, and it is what it is. So for my administrative verification, there's links here because, again, I didn't get the chance to really meet with some district people and talk to them about this. I got permission to have my administrator sign for both district and secondary because he knows that I was doing district things. He's the one who sent me to a district conference and different trainings, and so that's the same signature for both of those. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. And then my elementary one. For my annotated bibliography, this was the thing that definitely took me the longest time and threw me the most when the standards changed, because this really ramped up what I was expecting to do when we switched to the NELP standards. And so I do have all my 33 annotations on here about all the questions, and this has been an ongoing process for the last couple of months. I've been doing an article or 2 a day, and then obviously finishing this up was quite a few more a day. So I want to spend more time talking about my activities. So my district activities were kind of disjointed. I didn't have necessarily one mentor, but there were people that saw me at all these things. So the first thing, our district is going through a lot of changes right now, and changing boundaries and talking about budget cuts. So I went to 2 different open houses about that. This is a link to the presentation. So the first one was community conversations, and the second one was the long range planning boundary study. They are working on changing school boundaries, and we're presenting a bunch of different options. That was a really interesting thing to go to. This was put on by the Colorado Department of Education. It was an Excellence in Equity conference that I attended with our district coordinator of Excellence in Equity, and then a elementary school principal, the same one that I ended up doing my elementary activities with, and a middle school principal, and then I went as the high school ambassador, I guess, because my assistant principal knew that I needed to do some district activities. That was really cool. It was 2 days. I got to go to a bunch of breakout sessions. I was one of the very few teachers there. Most people were administrators or district personnel. So that was very cool. Board meeting, you can read about that. This was a really interesting board meeting when looked at the lens of community and school relations. My school has been through a lot of stuff, and there were a lot of angry parents at this one, so definitely a learning experience. This one I made a presentation about FERPA tailored to my district, and a PLC training for 3 days with a bunch of people throughout the district. Our district really focuses on PLCs, and they've protected our time for those an hour every Wednesday morning. For my elementary school activities, I took a personal day and spent the whole day with Principal Francesca Papalardo at one of our elementary schools, and just followed her around all day and did what she did. So I have a couple different things. These were harder to get pictures of because of student privacy rights and the different kinds of things I attended, like meeting with a social worker was pretty confidential, obviously. Student lunch with the principal. The whole goal of this was to make the kid feel comfortable, and so I didn't want to take pictures of him. But I attached a screenshot of here his info in our Infinite Campus system. We also talked about PBIS. They have that going on at their school. And so I have a picture of a cute little puffball PBIS thing that you can read about. I met with the district special education coordinator, which was really interesting because that's not something that I had talked about before, especially with the child find. Because I've only worked in middle school and high school, we don't usually talk about how to identify incoming kids for special education. And so this was a really eye-opening meeting for me. I attached some of my notes that are confidential, no student names or identifiable information there. And then we did a formal observation of a PE teacher, which was really cool to be on the other end of a formal observation and see what kinds of notes she was talking about. And she was really good about asking me my opinions on certain things. I went to a team meeting with some first grade teachers, and then we did a bunch of classroom walkthroughs. This was really interesting because I have not spent much time in elementary school at all. So to see how different her job is than my secondary experience was really cool. And then because I teach in high school, most of my activities are in the secondary, so I'm not going to talk about all of them. I talked about my mission and vision statement. I did a case study for attendance to fill that requirement. A couple things with my PLCs, some norm setting. I'm the coach of the high school science bowl, and so I use that one. Here's my science bowl kids. The eye patch is unironic. College night, that was a really great opportunity. My assistant principal reached out and asked if I wanted to help him with a presentation, and we talked about academic supports and strategies for freshmen. Trying to get freshmen to that college night, it's usually better attended by sophomores and juniors who are actually getting ready to apply to college, but we brought freshmen in. And you can click on here and view the presentation. It was really fun. I'm really passionate about study skills and teaching those to students, and so we worked on that together. We met a couple times to get that presentation in order, and then on college night we presented for 3 different sessions on that. There's my weekly PLCs. We're on case study teams at my school, so I talk about that. SIT team, I'm one of the 2 teachers on our student intervention team that meets weekly. So I included that. This was really great because I learned so much about how we can support struggling students and what kind of options there are. And we talked about testing, and we talked about social services and all kinds of things here. So that was really great. And I was on that team with our school psychs and APs and our dean, some counselors. Retired science teacher breakfast happens twice a year. We invite the retired science teachers to our department to just catch up and build community. I helped with master scheduling this year. I helped my department chair with our science master schedule. This was an Excellence Through Equity talk with Dr. Pedro Noguera. I sat in on a child abuse reporting call with our assistant principal and school psychologist. I was on the interview committee for a new Spanish teacher. That was also a really great opportunity, and one that I had never done before. I'd never been on that side of an interview, so that was a really great learning opportunity. And then I created a professional development about Doctopus. I actually did this last year and then videoed it for this year to share with my staff who's all doing distance learning now. So those are my secondary activities. And finally, my reflection is here. So talking about, my struggles at the beginning, what's an activity, my stupidity in not pursuing this earlier when I was at a school where I had a lot of connections, and then starting this program in my first year at a new school in a new district where I knew nobody was definitely a challenge for me. I had to lean on a lot of people saying, who do you know? Who can you put me in touch with? I need to talk to all these people that I've never met before. And yeah, it was a challenge because I'm not very good at reaching out to people that I don't know or reaching out to strangers. And so that really pushed me out of my comfort zone, to email the superintendent and ask for a meeting, or the director of human resources. Whereas at my last district, I had good relationships with both of those people. So my conjecture was, what is it that makes me uncomfortable in reaching out to strangers? I talk about how it puts me not in a position of leadership, kind of a position of weakness, and what I can do about that to be okay with not being in charge. And then I go through my different classes. The practicum class we haven't done any work for, so I kind of talked about my reflection of the program in general. I talk about 1 or 2 things from each class, and then the class I'm in now, the curriculum class, I've only done 2 modules for, so I talk about the first one here. So that is my ePortfolio. I'm so grateful for this experience, and I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm glad to be done with it, and this is a huge weight off my shoulders, but this has been a great experience, and I've met so many new people, and I've learned so much. And if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.